Welcome, guys. Welcome to Working On It, Real Talk from Monument. I'm Anthony Ball. And today's
Cool.
guest is Paul Teodo, a yoga and meditation teacher and musician from Los Angeles, now based in Bali, where he teaches at the Yoga Barn. Before the move, Paul spent years teaching in some of LA's best-known studios and built a reputation for making the practice feel clear, grounded, and genuinely useful, not just another trend. He's since taken the work on the road, leading retreats around the world. Paul also is an accomplished guitarist. He released an album of instrumental music in 2016 with a new record on the way. And his guided guitar meditations become a sellout favorite with students. Paul, welcome. Let's
Thank
get
you.
into it. It's good to have you. I'm really grateful to have you here.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you're a busy man, but I know you'll always
I
make
just
time as well.
I've got a lot. I love being here for things like this, but just like you, I have a lot of people that need me.
Yes.
Family and pets and students and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So many people wanting the attention of
Yes.
ours. Um, so I think a good way to start is for anyone listening to hear your journey, your story of where you were and who you've become, and to understand that.
Yeah, sure. So I am an American. I originally was born in Chicago, Illinois, the suburbs of Chicago, and had a really nice Midwestern suburban childhood. Looking back, especially now that I'm a father and now that I work in the wellness industry and a lot of people come to heal things from their childhood, it really made me realize how good of a childhood I had. So I really was blessed in that way. I have two parents who are no longer together, but I always felt really loved. We had enough money where we weren't worrying about money, but not so much money where we were overly privileged or spoiled. It was a nice balance. I had grandparents, my father's side, that were amazing Italian cooks. They would come over all the time, and we were known as the house with really good food. We took pride in that. Our family was the house where people would come to eat. And yeah, after Chicago, I moved to Ohio for college, got a business degree. And I just got a business degree because you go to college and you get a business degree. I always had dreams of doing different alternative things with my life. But when you're from the area where I was from, you didn't really see a lot of people making a living doing anything other than working a 9 to 5 or a corporate job for the most part. Some people own restaurants or things like that, but it wasn't a very entrepreneurial or outside of the box place where I grew up. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and then everybody was going after a dream. And I felt like I was left out working in real estate at the time. I worked in real estate in Chicago and then Los Angeles, and very quickly realized that this life really wasn't meant for me. I had a decent amount of success in my early 20s selling real estate and enjoyed it for a few years. But then the itch and the call to do something that was more meaningful to me really really started banging on my door. I'd been a musician for a long time, ever since high school. I've been playing gigs ever since high school. And when you grow up in Chicago and Ohio, it's kind of just a thing that you do, and maybe you make a little bit of money, but you don't like raise a family as a musician, like that. There's nobody that I knew that did that. So, but then I moved to Los Angeles and I saw people who had like big houses. Like, what do you do? Like, oh, I'm a musician, or I'm an actor, or and not even like just famous people, like people who like made enough money to like raise a family as an artist, as somebody or yoga teacher, So I saw in Los Angeles that people could have a middle class life and do something that they were really passionate about. And there was such an encouragement in Los Angeles to go after your dream. So then I pursued acting, actually. I love acting. I pursued it for 5 or 6 years, really passionately. And it chewed me up and spit me out. The business side of it, not the actual craft. I always loved the craft and would work incredibly hard on my roles and studying acting. But really had a difficult time. Did the rejection, working really hard at something and having nothing happen was a very difficult lesson that I had to learn, but also like one of the most meaningful things I've ever had to learn is like sometimes you can do your absolute best and not get what you want, and dreams don't always come true, and maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there is something else that I'm meant for. And by the end of my acting career, the stress of it had just obliterated my self-esteem. And it had gotten so bad that my fingertips went numb and I couldn't even play guitar. And the things that I was doing to maintain my sanity while trying to pursue this career was I was practicing tons of yoga and playing tons of guitar because both of those things were very cheap. I was so broke. There was a donation-based yoga studio that I could go to for donation, and playing guitar is free. So, or basically $20 every 2 months for new strings. But other than that, it was free. So basically, that's what I did all day, is yoga and guitar. And now I'm a guitar playing yoga teacher. So it's like the two things that I was doing to try to maintain the sanity from my dream that just wasn't working, became a new dream. And there's that statement of God has a better dream for you than anything you could ever imagine. And that was really true for me. I could be pretty stubborn. I have a strong ego, and I definitely, there's the other saying, like, let go or be dragged. I definitely was dragged for a long time because I wouldn't let go of the thing that I was so passionate about. And once I did, so many things opened up. I took a yoga teacher training in 2012, and I had some friends who were some pretty established teachers. And they helped me get some feet in the door, and they also helped me navigate the first few years of my career, which was super important. And I also started having really, really deep spiritual experiences as I was healing from both the acting and then some other stuff from my 20s, family stuff regarding challenging divorce with my parents and some addictions, not on my end, but with other people in my family. I hadn't really worked on that. So I was doing all this healing work and really like cleaning out my wounds. And then on the other side of that is all these spiritual experiences after you really clean out a wound. The other side of that, like there's so much clarity, there's so much connection, there's so much just a spiritual experience. And it was really translating to my teaching because I just felt like I belonged in that room because of my fingertips having gone numb, because my life was such a mess. And it was really, I was using meditation and yoga and philosophy to really get back to being myself again. I felt very calmly confident about what I was doing. Not just the physical poses, but like growing from a boy into a man. And I do believe that by the time we're 30, almost everyone has a really deep wound. And it's whether or not we choose to clean that wound out. It's the opportunity to become a man. Or you could just be an old boy. It's like, do you want to be an old boy or do you want to be a man? And I think that was the first deep wound that really propelled me into a much more meaningful life.
Amazing. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for that story. It's a
Yeah.
great story. It's very detailed as well, and I think so many people will be able to relate to it and also get very inspired by it.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of a few things that stood out is like how important it is the environment you're in, right? So you making that transition from Chicago to LA and
Yeah.
being in that environment where it brings that inspiration out in you and that desire to do your thing, right? And then
Yeah.
obviously you're doing that thing and it's like there's a lot of force there, you're fighting against it. And then you found through that kind of hard grafting or the forcing is like you found the things that are actually meaningful to you, which is the guitar playing and the yoga and the meditation.
Yes. And acting made me tough, you
Hmm.
know, broke for 4 years in a row,
Yeah.
endless rejection, um,
Mm.
thick skin, man. Like it's like it's acting makes you need to stay vulnerable. Otherwise, you can't act if you're not vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you need to endure a tremendous amount of rejection at the same time.
And so many
And
people
that
avoid rejection as well.
and vulnerability.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like the two things that most people are avoiding were absolutely necessary for me to possess while I was pursuing this craft, which got me ready for so much more. Because in yoga, I might have at the beginning of my career when I wasn't a successful person, I might have two or three people tell me no in a row. And then acting would be 30. I'm like, this is
Hmm.
fucking nothing. Like what, three rejections,
Mm.
three no's, one yes, that's nothing. Like I'm used to 20. I'm
Yeah.
used to 25, you know? So yeah, it gave me some thick skin while at the same time the acting and playing music preserved my vulnerability. I think
Yeah.
art, any type of art
Mm.
preserves a person's sensitivity. You can't create anything artistic unless you have access to your sensitivity. So it helped me preserve that, I think.
Hmm. That's great. And you mentioned about the itch that you're having. That was the itch to do the acting or the itch to do the musician and the yoga side?
Right now?
Well, no, you mentioned, I think, I don't know if it was in LA, you said you had the itch, you had that urge to step into it.
Oh, I had the urge. Yeah, I had the urge to leave real estate. So I left real estate in
Uh,
2008, and then I pursued acting until 2013.
hmm.
But I pursued it really hard. Like I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
I worked really hard, and didn't get anywhere. And some of it was my own attitude. I'm stubborn. I have principles, and I didn't want to compromise. And that was not, it was a lesson that I learned, like you can be too idealistic. You can have too rigid with your morals, or I wouldn't even call them morals, but what would the word be? Um,
I mean, the
I can be
values.
overly ideal.
Yeah.
I can be overly idealistic, and
Hmm.
that be a problem for me that I still am working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. There's always great learnings because I think I hear like a lot of the men that I work with and the women, like they have this itch, but there's a lot of fear following that itch, that calling, because they're leaving their kind of safety zone and they'd have to go into that kind of unknown of like what's going to happen rather than being, let's say they're in employment, they know like, okay, if I work, I'm going to get paid. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Um, did you have like fear of stepping away from, or did you have the fear when you moved from Chicago to LA and then even when you stepped out of real estate, was there fear as well? Or you're someone who can just step into and trust?
No, well, I, again that I was lucky because what real estate prepared me for was real estate prepared me for extreme ups and downs because I've never had a salary. Real estate is a straight commission job, so I've never felt dependent upon a salary. It's stressful, of course. Like when I moved to California, I was scared, of course, very like I was scared. And at the same time, I did do quite well. So I had about a year and a half's worth of money saved. I had a big chunk of money saved. Um, yeah. And then when I moved to Bali, I was also scared, but I also have both confidence in myself and I did have I have a strong faith that like God or whatever wanted me to teach yoga and continue to do what I'm doing, and that I need to listen to moments where I'm being told to step into the unknown and to
Hmm.
step into uncertainty, and to trust that good things happen. Um, Sometimes I say in my class, like if you follow your brain, predictable things happen, and if you follow your heart, unpredictable things happen.
Mm.
And it can be very scary to follow your heart because you have to step into the unknown, you know? Of
Yeah. How do you, because they're both very useful, right? The logical part and then the more embodiment
course.
part, and right? How do you
Yeah.
find a useful approach of like syncing them up?
Um, for me, I think just lots of meditation
Mm.
has really helped me recognize most of the time, not all the time, when there's a quiet, calm voice saying, this is right for you, or you need to do this. Um, it's an instinct that I think staying in touch with the person's feminine side is what like a man needs to stay in touch with his vulnerability and his creativity, because
Hmm.
that's all like interlaced with intuition,
Hmm.
and to trust your instincts, and I think that stayed pretty sharp for me because of my my commitment to being a musician still, and to putting myself in environments like men's circles and whatever, where I
Hmm.
have to be vulnerable, and I have to look at myself, and I have to own when I fuck up and hurt the people that I love, and apologize. And on
Hmm.
the other side, like forgive when people that I love aren't as good as I always want them to be, and to live with that. And I think that allows a person to be less dependent on the intellect. But I think it's a scary thing. We live in a world that trains most people to use the left side of their brain to solve all of their problems,
Hmm.
and then they don't know how to trust the intuition.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like that's for me, I think that's part of the reason why like a lot of spirituality is not trusted anymore, because spirituality is an experience. It's something that you cultivate through the right side of your brain. And if the right side of your brain is atrophied,
Hmm.
um, then science becomes God, and scientists are wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And you know,
A lot of the spiritual stuff is like science is trying to get to the spiritual stuff, you know?
exactly. Yeah, I sometimes I say like science is only 2,000 years behind philosophy, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
And I also like need to be careful not to be judgmental, because sometimes I can, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my ongoing things to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great one thing you mentioned there was like how a lot of people, a lot of humanity is in the mind and they're using the logic left side just to like do things. And the issue with that is you can create your own stories and then you believe your
Yeah,
own stories, you know, and there can be a lot of fear in those stories and they want to protect, right? There's a lot of ego in that protection, right?
yeah,
But when you are, let's say you do come down to the body again, you can connect to more the element of trust, safety, intuition,
yeah.
which can probably become a more balanced, grounded approach to whatever situation you're stepping into.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think also a huge thing nowadays is I think a person needs to, even though it's harder, to be disciplined enough to regularly make decisions in their life without the help of a machine.
Mhm.
Like use machines to help them make so many decisions now. And then I think it destroys intuition. It destroys like trusting yourself. And I think it's getting easier and easier.
Yeah,
Anytime a person is struggling with something, just go to the chat GPT,
exactly.
go to Google versus like, we'll sit with it for a little bit,
Hmm.
journal on it, talk to a friend,
Yeah,
pray. There's none of that anymore. And I
yeah,
think that that's a dangerous place to be where you become reliant on AI, and AI is also something that'll tell you how great you are most of the time. Like, oh,
yeah.
that's a great idea.
They'll
You
reinforce your
know?
story. You're like, okay, great, let's
Yeah.
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, or also like give a tremendous amount of compassion if you're going through something like like the therapist AI is very like it's very much like, oh my gosh, this, and it's great to have compassion, but it's also like part of it as far as like the masculine is like, well, fucking do something about it.
Yeah.
Something about your life that you don't like. Ask yourself, do I have the ability to change this? And if
Hmm.
you do, like fucking do something about it,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, kind of, it's kind of one area I want to get into. So obviously you're in the yoga industry,
Yeah.
and that is predominantly very, very feminine, right? There's a lot of
And meditation. But
and meditation. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm more known for teaching yoga, but meditation is a huge part of my life.
yeah,
Huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess even like all the areas that you're in, like the yoga, the meditation, even the music to agree, because I guess music is more connected to the feminine, right? So there's many areas that you're really working in, and it's a lot of feminine uh, energy there, and there's also a lot of females going to this as well. Um,
Hmm.
and I see you as quite a masculine man, and you're bringing that masculine energy in, and also you mentioned before how you're connecting to that feminine energy within you, and having that balance and connecting with that intuition, how important that is. Um, what's your kind of viewpoints on maybe the outside view of spirituality, how people perceive it, and maybe, yeah, what's your view on that in general? Maybe like the over feminization of the spiritual community.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, a lot of people come to spirituality because they're in pain and they need to feel things, which is,
Mhm.
I think, absolutely, absolutely necessary. But if you only feel things and you forget to do things, uh, it can be quite out of balance.
So they kind of get
Um,
stuck in. They can get stuck in that moment.
yeah, feeling things. It's like, I remember when I was like really struggling with anxiety and really at the beginning of my healing journey, I was working with a mentor and I was just talking to him about like, going or just regurgitating all of my anxiety and all of the reasons why I felt very entitled to be a victim, you know?
Mm,
And he's like, just clean your room, man. And I was like, no, no, no. Like, I want to talk about my problems forever and just, I want to dump it all on you.
mm,
He's like, just clean your fucking room. He's like, you'll
yeah.
feel better about yourself. And I
Hmm.
did. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm less of a loser right now because at least my room's clean,
Hmm.
you know? And because I think in my life, there's a lot of benefit to feeling my feelings. But because when I went through a really, really difficult time in my life, I was acting. I was feeling my feelings all the time in acting class. But what
Yeah.
I wasn't doing was taking responsibility for my life and taking responsibility for how I got there and how, even though I was working really hard at something, it was obvious that um, it wasn't what I was meant to do. And
Hmm.
I think here's an area where I think it's the feminine is a little out of balance. Is like so oftentimes within spirituality and within the yoga community, especially in Ubud, there's this saying like, what do I really want? What does my heart really want? And I think that's a beautiful question. I think it's also a feminine question. And I think the masculine question that I had to ask for myself is, what does God want for me?
Mm.
Because sometimes what I want and what God wants for me are different. And if I tried doing what I want and it didn't freaking work,
Mm.
you know? But when I started listening to like I had like I have no idea what to do. Show me a sign. I'll do whatever you want to do because my way is not working. And I
Mm.
think that's like a very vulnerable, humble, but also like masculine perspective is like I would like to follow a leadership of something that I trust. And to just to be in service of something,
Mhm.
something bigger than me, uh, something that I feel I can lean on because right now my way is not working.
Yeah. There's a few things you mentioned there, which were, I think, quite important, and I want to dive into a few of them. So the
Yeah,
first one is the emotional aspect and how, for example, we can just be in the motion. And the way I see
yeah,
it is I see the emotions as, okay, you have to have space to feel them, but then you have to recognize, okay, there's a message here of something needs to happen. Right. So if it's anger, then it's a boundaries being crossed, and you've got to figure out where that boundary is. If it's anxiety, then okay, we're thinking way in the future. Like, what is it that we're thinking about, and what needs to happen to assist with this, right? And then
I think anxiety can also be caused by inaction, not just
inaction,
projecting
exactly. But
inaction.
it's
Yeah,
potentially like they're thinking about the future, and they're not doing
yeah, yeah, yeah,
anything to do things about the future.
yeah,
So they're
yeah,
feeling the anxiety. So that, okay, I'm feeling this. Why am I feeling this? What action needs to go into place to help me to not feel like this, or something long,
yeah,
not necessarily not feel like this, but it's like it's a signal to say, okay, something needs to happen here. Whereas a
yeah,
lot of the time it's like I'm just feeling, and then they're stuck in the
yeah,
feeling, and they don't actually put any action into place, which I think is more of the masculine um,
yeah,
action based stuff, which many people don't do. Well, not many. I don't say don't, not many, but I see a lot of the time they're not putting the action in, and they're just
yeah. And I
stuck in the feeling.
Yeah, and I think that like I totally agree. And I think it also depends on like a person's natural constitution. Like if a person is
Hmm.
naturally a bit masculine, they will probably heal better by doing. Like for me, like when I was going through my hardest times, like I was a piece like I'm a fucking piece of shit. And then a lot of people would be like, "No, you're not.
Mm.
No, you're not. Like no, you need to love yourself." And then I met one mentor who's like, well, what do you need to do to not feel like a piece of shit? Like maybe you are. Like maybe like who you are versus who you know you could be right now is so far apart that the statement I'm a piece of shit is accurate.
Mm.
And I actually was activated about that. I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's like,
Yeah.
well, like he's like, so get out of debt. Like
Mm.
like get some momentum. And then like I couldn't love myself until I actually was at least I couldn't love myself laying on the ground. If I was crawling, I'm like, okay, I'm crawling now. Like now I
Yeah.
can at least have some respect for myself.
Yeah.
I guess it's not even love, it's more respect.
Hmm.
But like I really in my spiritual journey, I met some people that really helped me because they didn't coddle me and they didn't they didn't go straight for the, you know, you're a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're enough. You need to love yourself.
Hmm.
And they're like, maybe you are a piece of shit,
Mm. Sometimes it's
you
actually quite
know?
useful to meet the person where they're at and just literally
Yeah,
talk back to them. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
It's like, okay,
And
great, great.
that that type of shit would be, I don't know if that flies in Ubud. Like
Mm.
maybe in our, the men's group that we're a part of and
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
certain, but It's not something that, but what I do say sometimes to my students in my yoga or meditation teacher training is a lot of students will talk about like the voice in their head being very critical.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share that like I had that for a long time. And people would tell me, oh, you need to be friends with that voice, blah, blah, blah. And then I had somebody said, tell that voice to shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. So when I started doing that, like I actually healed. So I'll tell people sometimes, like, just tell that voice to shut the fuck up. It's a drunken bully
Mm-hmm.
and it's beating up your inner child. And you don't deal with the bully with, oh, what's wrong? You know, you deal like you stop, you
Mm-hmm.
know? When I applied that type of attitude towards the voice in my head, the voice in my head, which was bullying me, uh, quieted down. And I
Mm.
treated it with the degree of intensity that it needed to stop. You know,
Yeah.
so I will share that is like a more of like a masculine attitude that I will share with a lot of women in my teacher trainings because they don't see that as an option, but it really can work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to protect yourself from somebody who's hurting you. And if you're hurting you, you need to protect yourself assertively,
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if that
you know?
voice is being a dick, you need to be a dick back. Just like
Yeah,
just match.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's
So
many different approaches, but that's one that people generally don't do. You know, they want
it
to
it
they want to
doesn't
come with
work.
compassion.
It doesn't work for a lot of people, but if it's a person who I think, if it's a person who their normal self-esteem is pretty good
Mm-hmm.
and they're going through a period in their life where it went significantly down, I think that it really helps that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a person who normally doesn't feel very good about themselves, asking them to do it that way, I don't think helps.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 No, I understand that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Definitely. Um. Okay. And the other thing you mentioned was around um. It was kind of like around how you were trying to like, okay, I want this, but what does God want? So God wants this, and I want this, right? When you're following your thing and trying to force it through it, there's a lot of resistance, or it's just lots of force there. And I noticed that for myself in moments, and I reflect back, and for me, there was a lot of struggle, there was a lot of financial losses, there was a lot of boredom when I'm just like doing from, okay, this is what should be done, you know. But then when I
Yeah.
go down the path of like what the universe wants or what God wants, or again, whatever people call it, that's where things started to flow for me and things
Yeah.
opened up and I felt open.
Yeah. Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I
I
just
was
think, go on.
no, go ahead.
No, I just would love to hear your view on it. And yeah.
Yeah, I was coming back from a flight with my son and my wife, and we were actually no, I think it was just me and him on this flight. And we were flying back from either Japan or somewhere, and there was like some Japanese cartoon that he was watching on the plane, and it was the story of a young girl who was trying to go after her dream, and she was failing, and she was stuck, and she was about to quit, and she went and saw this like guru type figure, like this wise sensei type
Mhm.
figure. And she's like, I'm trying so hard, it's quitting, and this is my dream. And this is that's so profound. The sensei said, well, is your dream a selfish dream?
Mm.
Like, is it all about you? Is it all about you and your pleasure and your grandiosity? And she's like, no. And then she was like, yes.
Mm.
And then he said, well, your dream needs to include a vision of you helping people. It needs to include a vision of you serving something bigger than yourself. Otherwise, it's not a dream that God or the universe wants for you.
Hmm.
because your dream can't just be selfish. And that was so profound. And I
Mm.
reflected on my acting, and um although was it completely selfish? I don't think completely selfish, because I love the craft. Like I really love art and storytelling and what it teaches people about humanity and compassion, and about getting into the skin of a person very different from you, and how that changes perspective and how it dissolves ignorance. But in some ways it was a more selfish, it was definitely a more selfish career than what I have now.
Hmm.
And it probably would have been very dangerous for me if I had become successful, because it would have been a very difficult waters for me to navigate.
Hmm.
But with my idealism and my intensity and my ego and the type of people that could have potentially surrounded me, it could have been very dangerous.
Mm. So it's like serving something greater than yourself and giving back. And I noticed that in those areas as well for me, when I reflect, it was like I was probably trying to take more than give.
Yeah.
And when I started to give more,
Yeah.
naturally, without the expectation, but I received more. So
Yeah.
it's me wanting to show up more, me wanting to share wisdom, me wanting to support people in the ways that I like, where I get fulfilled, like with breath work, with men's work. Um, and that's where things start to open up, where I started to just like give.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
I
it's a
totally,
powerful place to be in.
it's also great for getting out of your own head.
Hmm.
I would say, like, now that I'm a dad, like, I think so much less about myself,
Yes.
you know,
Same. Yeah. Yeah.
so much more about, like,
Yeah.
how do I give my son the best life possible, and, enjoy myself, you know, while I'm doing that. But like, yeah, and I don't think about myself as much as I used to.
Hmm.
It's a wonderful gift that children give a person, to no longer be the most important person in your own life. Is a It's kind of a weight that gets lifted off of your shoulders.
Yeah. I remember one comment. It was from a uh it's like this phrase from South America. And it's like when a baby comes into your life, they also come with like a loaf of bread. And so they come with like essentially like you don't need to worry. Like they come with gifts. They'll come
Yeah.
with everything that is needed. And especially if I think it's not always the case, but I think if you are stepping into your life path, having kids, especially for me, it gave me the drive. Like I had more drive, I had more energy. And I look at people without any kids now and they say they don't have time. I'm like, fuck, dude, honestly.
Yeah.
No, like I'm doing like 10 times more than what I was doing, plus have a family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I still feel like when I didn't have kids, I'm like, fuck, I was so lazy. Like, honestly, that's my opinion of myself now. I had so much time.
Yeah.
But with that in
Yeah.
mind, now going into family, um,
Yeah.
obviously, me and you very similar. Like we have many things going on, and there are many students that we mentor, we teach, and that want our wisdom and advice and knowledge, and also the other projects that we have going on. Like, how do you find it? How you can one shop for the family and shop like your best self for the family?
I need to take care of myself. I need to put a boundary around exercise, which is very important to me. Meditating, um, eating right. I'm lucky because I'm really disciplined about those things.
Hmm.
Really disciplined about my exercise. For the most part, my diet, really for my diet, yeah, exercise, diet, and mental health. Like being a part of a men's group is really important for me. Um, And then I also like was super lucky. And my dad's actually here visiting right now. Like
Mhm.
I have a very good blueprint of like what it's like to show up for your kids. My father always would show up, and he still shows up,
Mhm.
you know? Um, he's here right now. Like literally, he showed up. Like I have this big studio that's opening, and he's 75 years old, and he flew halfway across the world because he
Mm.
wanted to see me and to see the almost complete studio. And 75 years old, he came to my sweaty yoga class because he
It's
wanted to
great.
see the class. And he's
Amazing.
75, like doing this hard yoga class and taking
Mhm.
breaks when he needs to, but he shows up, you know? And I am so lucky to have had that. My mother shows up too. My mother loves me in very different ways. She's a very feminine woman.
Mhm.
But she's always been such a great listener and so compassionate. And so I have a good blueprint, and I have to give a lot of credit to that.
Mhm.
Um, you know, a lot. They weren't perfect parents, but my parents are good parents. They did a lot of things right. And then also, like, I feel living here and in the position that I'm in, I need to try and help people that didn't have that. Like, I really want to try to help people who didn't have that,
Mhm.
um, to learn how to show up like that for others. And, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to go too much into, but I know like a lot of, well, myself included, like there's this healing that happens through like the father wound and the mother wound. And
yeah,
very similar to you, I had like a great blueprint, great parents. But when I was going through that process, I'd like they went to like they didn't show up to me and I wanted more of them and all this like a very childlike response of like I wanted more, more, more. Um,
yeah,
but then, you know, like you hear other stories, you hear things, and actually it does make me feel more grateful for my parents, my upbringing. And because I think if I get stuck in that story, there's a lot of resentment and I'd fixate
ah,
on just like a negative thing, right? When there's so many positives.
yes.
And it's very important.
And I,
Again, every story is different, but particularly for mine, like it's very important that I don't get stuck in just fixating on one little element when there's so much more going on there.
yeah, yeah. It's like I think that yeah, if you're gonna blame your parents for your problems, you also have to give them credit for your successes.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I also think it's a lot easier to judge your parents a hell of a lot less once you have kids. And that's something that I
Yes.
think
Yes. 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 Yes.
like
Yeah.
you really 3 hours sleep, kids screaming, don't want to eat food. You're trying your best to show up, and
Hmm.
then you like look back at like a memory from your own childhood where your parents were in the same position. Like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like I was holding you up to a completely unrealistic standard.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. Um. Nice. Okay. So that's all the we have time for today. But what I want, final question I want to ask is, again, I ask this with all my guests. What is it to be a man for you in this world today? As simple as
I
possible,
think,
because it's quite a deep question.
yeah, I think to be a man is to have the courage to spend your time and energy doing something that's meaningful to you, regardless of what society tells you.
Mm.
So to really ask, like, what do I care about and how can I make it better? And I think being a man is being willing to look at the ways that you're imperfect and to own them and to work on them without being cruel to yourself, but holding yourself up to a high standard.
Mhm.
I think being a man is wanting to protect and preserve things that are more innocent than you, children I think women, maybe they don't like hearing that nowadays, but I still subscribe to like the preserving like the beautiful innocence, and to protect, to a certain degree provide. I think like wanting to be able to make enough money that you have you take care of yourself and you're able to partially take care of others is a really good feeling. And to be willing to sacrifice for something every once in a while, sacrifice for the greater good, and to not be afraid if something's really wrong to speak up.
Mhm.
If something is really, to have the courage to go against the grain and to speak up if something's wrong.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
How can
thank you.
how can people connect with you, reach out to you, if they feel like working with you?
Yeah. Instagram is my Instagram is Teodo, Teodo, Teodo Yoga Guitar. And we have a yoga studio opening up in Bali called the In Movement, which will be open at the end of April. And you can reach out to me if you want to go deeper. I run power yoga trainings, which are strong and sweaty, but I also run a much softer meditation training that I co-lead with my wife. That's really about getting to know your nervous system, and that's going to be in May. And we run retreats and trainings, and I do mentor people. I'm pretty busy right now, but every once in a while, if something's really aligned, I'll mentor a person. So yeah,
Great. I'll put all your details in the description as well for anyone wanting
cool.
to do that. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you.
It's been great to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd do it again. Let's do it again.
Yes, yes. There's so many things that we can go deeper into as well.
Yeah.
No. Thanks, guys, for watching. Keep working on it. See you next time.